It's a question that we put now to Ted Lieu, who, of course, represents our state's 33rd district. Congressman Lieu, it's great to have you back with us.
Thank you, Alex. Honored to be back on your show.
The very day of the insurrection, January 6th, you, as I understand it, texted every member of the House Judiciary Committee with this message. And I'm quoting, "If we don't do anything besides send strongly worded press releases, then we are complicit in battering Lady Justice and our Constitution." And I don't know, reading that right now, 6 months on, I feel like you might have had some sense of foresight as to what might have happened. At the time, what did you think about how all of this might have played out?
What we do know is that 6 months ago, the former president incited an insurrection that led to 140 police officers being injured, some severely. Multiple people died. There was extensive property damage. And now we need to get to the bottom of what happened, which is why I'm very pleased that the House of Representatives has set up a select committee. They'll look at what led up to January 6th, what happened on January 6th, and its consequences so that we never have this happen again.
Yes, no, and 500 arrests and counting at this point in time. I'm curious, when it comes to this particular select committee, there are so many questions that remain. I'm curious what's top of mind for you. What are you hoping that this committee will be able to actually ascertain? And do you think it's going to be possible given all of the politics that have been surrounding this to date?
This select committee will have subpoena power, and so they can get documents and get witnesses in a way that we couldn't do when we were doing the impeachment trial. At that time, we were sort of hamstrung. Had we issued any subpoenas, it would have taken months and months and months, and it would have delayed the trial, and that would have been a non-starter. This time it's different because we can have the United States Attorney for the District of Columbia actually enforce these subpoenas. So we're in a much better position. And I do expect that they'll call in witnesses as well as get important documents to really lay out for American people what happened on January 6th and what led up to it.
Yeah. And is there a specific question for you? I mean, there's these pipe bombs that we still don't know exactly what was going on there. There's this question of, was this something that was planned or was it spontaneous? Is there a question that you feel like is probably the most important question to get to the bottom of?
There are several questions. One is, I'd like to know, what did our law enforcement and intelligence agencies know prior to January 6th? I also want to know why there was such a large gap between what we all saw and what the former president saw on TV with the attack happening in the Capitol and the National Guard coming in. Why did the president at that time not act sooner? What was he telling his aides? And I also do want to know, was there any member of Congress that also either encouraged or helped get people to attack the Capitol on January 6th.
Yeah, and that is an incredibly chilling question. Of course, we've got some very big questions right here at home here in Southern California, and how to handle our homelessness crisis is a huge one. President Biden recently signed off on your West Los Angeles VA Campus Improvement Act. Congressman, can you tell us what exactly that will do in terms of providing housing to veterans?
Yes, so the West Los Angeles VA is one of the largest hospital systems in the nation, and it's in the middle of my district. Very pleased that President Biden signed this legislation that I co-led with Senator Dianne Feinstein. It does a number of things, one of which, anytime there is a fraud lawsuit that the VA wins, and there's a number of these lawsuits, they can take that money and apply it right back to help the West LA VA address the homelessness issue. And then second, it also changes lease terms and extends lease terms to make it easier for those who want to build housing on the West LA VA to house homeless veterans, build such housing. So we're very pleased that this had bipartisan support. We also have introduced legislation, again, it's Senator Feinstein and I, to provide funding to address homelessness issues at the state and county level. Traditionally, the federal government only has had jurisdiction over veterans who happen to be homeless. But our view is, just because that's the way it is doesn't mean it's the way it has to be. So we have a bill that will provide nearly $5 billion of funding over 4 years for homeless issues across America and in the state of California.
Yeah. And of course, funding absolutely crucial, but probably just as, if not more crucial, is how that funding is spent. And certainly in this region lately, we have seen so much vigorous debate and outright contradiction at times from various parties in terms of what is the best strategy to try and rein in some of this homelessness situation. I'm curious, what role do you think folks such as yourself serving in Congress should play, and what do you think should be done with this money? How is it best spent?
I do believe we have to get additional funding to address the homelessness situation. The execution of these programs is something that happens at the local level, at the county and city and sometimes the state level. So what the federal government can do is provide the resources, but for these programs to be executed, we do have to rely on the local officials to do that. And in terms of addressing homelessness, you need to do basically two things. We've known this for a while. You have to provide housing, and then you have to provide services to the folks who are homeless so that they can eventually transition to a point in time when they're no longer homeless. Otherwise, you're going to keep having this recurring problem over and over again.
Congressman Ted Lieu, I'd like to ask you about another situation where everyone's got big ideas, but they don't always align. And I'm talking, of course, about the infrastructure plan for this nation. A whole lot of different strategies being put forth right now by Democrats, by Republicans, in terms of what is the best path forward, how much to spend, and where it should be spent. What are your thoughts? What should happen from here on out?
I think it's very important that we get infrastructure done. I'm very pleased that we passed American Rescue Plan earlier this year, and that law met its goals, which was to get people back into jobs, get cash into people's pockets, kids back into schools, and shots into people's arms. But now we have to recover the millions of jobs that were lost during the pandemic. Infrastructure is a great way to do it, and it also helps rebuild America in a better way for the 21st century. I'm pleased that I was able to get some projects that will help Southern California into the bill that the House passed, including money for the Sepulveda Pass, where we're going to try to build light rail to relieve some of the congestion, as well as other infrastructure projects that help Southern California.
Yeah, and I found it really curious. Earlier this year, you were speaking about, I think when most of us think of infrastructure, we think about stuff that's right here on the very literally ground level of our nation. But you've made the case that we also need to consider space as part of American infrastructure. Can you explain why that is and how you think we should be including it in our infrastructure plans?
The American Jobs Plan is named the American Jobs Plan, not the American Infrastructure Plan, because this really is about jobs. And so in addition to infrastructure, we're also focused on jobs for elder care, workforce retraining, jobs in research and development. So we're trying to make a big push to get a lot of jobs back that were lost during this pandemic. Now, the good news is over 3 million jobs have been created since January 20th, and unemployment has been cut in half. But the focus really now should be not just on infrastructure, but also on jobs in general, because so many jobs are lost in the last year and a half.
And finally this evening, we've got just about a minute left, but I was very curious to see that lately you've been working with my friend and a friend of this show, David Kippen, on efforts to revive the Federal Writers Project. Can you remind folks who might be younger and not too familiar with this, what this is and why you feel like it needs to be brought back these days?
So one of the industries that was hard hit during the pandemic were writers, journalists, academics, historians, and newsrooms as well. During the Great Depression, FDR started the Writers Project, and that was really successful. It employed a number of writers, and not only did they get jobs, but they also documented the Great Depression. So we're going to replicate that and have people document this searing, traumatic event of this pandemic, capture all these different stories from small towns to big cities, and employ writers as well as get some of these newsrooms up and running again in these newsroom deserts that we have across America. So that is the intent of the Federal Writers Project.
Well, as a journalist, probably needless to say, very grateful for that. Congressman Ted Lieu, always grateful for your time as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alex.